The room is cold, even under studio lights. It's early 1985 in a Los Angeles soundstage, cameras rolling for what would become the We Are the World session. A handwritten lyric sheet trembles slightly in someone's hand. A security guard stands near the door. In the center of the room, under a single hanging microphone, stands Michael Jackson, quiet, focused, already orbiting at a different altitude. And then there's the empty space, a space that was meant for Prince. His name had been floated, his voice expected, his presence assumed, but the mic stand remains untouched. No purple jacket, no sly half-smile, no guitar leaning against the amp. That absence is the object. The refusal is the act. Because in an era where every headline framed it as Michael versus Prince, one question hovered over every studio, every arena, every awards show. Who would win? And Prince decided not to answer it. Weeks earlier, the rules of the industry had been clear. Thriller had shattered sales records. MTV, once hesitant to platform black artists, was now revolving around Michael's image. The red leather jacket from Beat It, the white glove from Billie Jean, the moonwalk from Motown 25. Global saturation. Meanwhile, Prince had just detonated his own cultural bomb with Purple Rain, an album, a film, a tour, a mythology. The motorcycle, the lace, the guitar solos that felt like confession and confrontation at the same time. The press needed a rivalry. Radio programmers framed playlists like boxing cards. Record executives compared first-week numbers like stock tickers. Award show producers angled camera shots to capture reaction faces whenever one was mentioned in the other's presence. The stakes were not abstract. In the mid-'80s music machine, crossover dominance meant leverage over contracts, over touring budgets, over creative control. One misstep could shift the narrative. One public loss could reframe a career. So when invitations circulated for the all-star charity single, the pressure wasn't just about humanitarian optics, it was about optics, period. Accounts differ on exactly how the invitation unfolded. Some insiders claimed Prince was asked to sing a solo line. Others say he was offered an instrumental contribution. Reportedly, there were discussions about where he would stand in the lineup, who would sing before him, who after. Hierarchy disguised as harmony. At Paisley Park, the Minnesota compound where Prince controlled everything from drum patterns to lighting angles, conversations were quieter but sharper. A chord progression loops in the background. A rehearsal band waits for instruction. "Are you going?" someone asks. Prince doesn't answer immediately. He adjusts the tuning pegs on his guitar. The metallic click of each turn echoes in the room. Because to share a mic in that particular moment, next to Michael, under Quincy Jones's direction, was to accept the frame. The frame said competition. The frame said comparison. The frame said step into this box and let the world measure you. Prince had never liked boxes. Days before the session, word spreads that he won't attend. No dramatic press conference, no fiery quote, just a message relayed through management. He declines. In Los Angeles, the production team recalibrates. Camera blocking changes, vocal assignments shift. The empty space is metaphorical, but it's felt. And the press immediately sharpens its knives. Snub, diva behavior, afraid to share the spotlight. But the refusal isn't loud, it isn't defensive, it isn't even explained, which makes it dangerous. Because when you refuse to compete on someone else's stage, you're not conceding, you're building your own. Back at Paisley Park, instead of boarding a flight to Los Angeles, Prince reportedly walks into Studio A. The tape machine spins. A new track begins forming. Sparse at first, then layered, then inexplicably his. The choice not to stand at that microphone becomes a pivot point. In an industry addicted to spectacle, he chooses isolation. In a narrative demanding confrontation, he chooses divergence. But the tension doesn't disappear. It thickens.
Awards season looms. Tour grosses are compared. MTV airplay is tallied weekly. Every chart position becomes coded language for who's ahead. And somewhere in that noise, a new strategy crystallizes. If the game is direct comparison, album sales, synchronized performances, shared stages, then the only way to win is not to play that version of it. The next move will make that clear. And when it happens, it won't be at a charity microphone. It will be on his terms.
The next night at Paisley Park, the tape machine is already rolling before anyone says a word. Inside Studio A in Chanhassen, Minnesota, Prince stands barefoot on the hardwood floor, a Hohner Telecaster strapped across his chest. The same week he declined the Los Angeles microphone for We Are the World, he is layering guitar over a skeletal drum pattern, building something dense and defiant. Outside that studio, the industry is still replaying the absence. In Los Angeles, under the direction of Quincy Jones, the charity single session wraps without him. Michael Jackson delivers his lines with surgical precision. Cameras capture the unity, the symbolism, the handshake moments. But Prince's refusal becomes its own headline. Why didn't he show? That question hums louder than any harmony. At rehearsal the following week for the Purple Rain Tour Encore, a crew member reportedly mentions the chatter. "They're saying you didn't want to stand next to Michael." Prince doesn't look up from the Lindrum machine. He taps in a new pattern, mechanical, precise. "Then they're saying it," he replies, according to accounts. The next escalation isn't verbal, it's structural. Rather than chase collaborative optics, Prince doubles down on total authorship, writing, producing, arranging, directing stage lighting cues himself. At a time when MTV is still calibrating how much creative control to give Black artists, he is demanding Final Cut authority on visuals tied to Around the World in a Day. The message isn't aimed at Michael directly, it's aimed at the system that wants to pit them against each other inside the same frame. At Warner Bros. Records headquarters, executives review early mixes. The new material is psychedelic, less arena rock triumph, more kaleidoscopic detour, riskier than Purple Rain, less obviously commercial. One executive reportedly asks, "Where's the single?" Prince leans back in the chair, sunglasses still on indoors. "You're listening to it," he says. Meanwhile, Michael's camp is engineering a different evolution. After Thriller, expectations are gravitational. Stadium tours are being mapped, merchandising lines negotiated. The white glove has become trademark iconography. At a Los Angeles rehearsal space, choreographers run counts, 5, 6, 7, 8, precision as religion. Michael's competition is scale. Prince's competition is containment. The industry assumes collision is inevitable. Award shows position seating charts carefully. Camera operators are briefed. If one claps for the other, get it. If one doesn't, get that too. At the 1985 American Music Awards, when Michael's name is called, the lens briefly searches the crowd for Prince's reaction. He offers a measured clap, not exaggerated, not dismissive. Control again. Back at Paisley Park, rehearsals for the next tour pivot away from the theatrical bombast people expect. The Revolution stretches songs into extended jams. Guitar solos push past radio-length patience. Prince turns his back to the crowd at times, facing the band instead. If the narrative demands that he compete in spectacle, he will compete in musicianship. If the scoreboard is album sales, he will alter the metric. The pressure from Warner Bros. Intensifies as release dates approach. Radio needs something familiar, a promotion executive reportedly warns during a meeting in Burbank. Prince reportedly slides a cassette across the table. "Then teach them," he says. The thesis sharpens in real time. Refusing to share a microphone was not retreat. It was refusal to be measured on someone else's scale. But the system doesn't stop pushing. A joint appearance is floated for a future benefit concert. Rumors circulate about possible on-stage moments, improvised guitar battles, shared encores. Publicities test the waters quietly. Again, the question returns, will he step into the frame? In late-night studio sessions, as engineers rewind 2-inch tape, Prince experiments with something else entirely. Side projects, signing protégés, building an internal universe where he controls not just his output, but the pipeline itself. Vanity, The Family, Sheila E. If the industry wants a duel, he will build an empire. Meanwhile, Michael prepares for the next era, meticulously storyboarding short films that will redefine music video grammar. 2 trajectories, same altitude, different vectors. And still the expectation of collision hovers. Then comes another pivotal invitation, an awards show performance where both men will be in the building, seated within camera range. Producers quietly hope for fireworks. Backstage corridors buzz with speculation. Assistants whisper, will he do something? Prince adjusts his cufflinks. The purple trench coat hangs perfectly tailored against his frame. He pauses before walking toward the stage entrance, because this time the refusal won't be about a charity microphone. It will be about something far more visible. And when the moment arrives, everyone will be watching.
The lights dim inside the Shrine Auditorium in Los Angeles, and the camera cranes upward as the presenter announces the next category. Both names have already been spoken that night. Michael Jackson for his global dominance, Prince for his restless reinvention. But now the room tightens because producers know the seating chart has placed them within the same camera sweep. Prince sits still in his tailored purple coat, legs crossed, expression unreadable. Across the aisle, Michael leans slightly forward, hands together, the faint glint of stage light catching his signature glove. The director in the control booth whispers into a headset, "Stay wide. If they look at each other, take it." That is the stage. That is the chessboard. When Prince's category is announced, applause ripples through the auditorium. He arises slowly, deliberate, as if pacing a solo. The camera pans, briefly catching Michael clapping with a polite, composed smile. It is a shot the networks will replay, 2 titans in the same frame, applause without theatrics. Prince walks to the podium. He adjusts the microphone stand, lowering it slightly. The object is small, almost invisible, but it's the hinge of the moment, the microphone, the same symbol he declined months earlier at We Are the World. He doesn't mention Michael. He doesn't need to. Instead, he thanks his band. He thanks Minneapolis. He speaks about freedom in the studio, about owning masters, about making records on his own terms. The speech is short, controlled, no headline bait. And that is the move. Because by refusing to engage in the expected rivalry script, he forces the narrative to pivot. The absence of a jab becomes the story. Reporters backstage ask, why didn't he acknowledge Michael? Others counter, why would he? The next morning, column inches stretch to interpret a silence. In New York, radio hosts debate whether Prince's minimalism was shade or strategy. In Los Angeles, label executives analyze ratings data from the broadcast. The camera cut between them had spiked viewership for a few seconds. The industry sees numbers. Prince sees leverage. Days later, at Paisley Park in Chanhassen, Minnesota, Prince convenes a meeting with his team. The whiteboard lists upcoming projects, new acts to launch, film ideas, distribution talks. He circles one word, control. According to accounts from band members, he says, they want competition, I want ownership. Meanwhile, Michael is mapping his next era with cinematic precision. After the seismic impact of Thriller, the stakes are gravitational. His camp is engineering scale, larger tours, larger sets, larger cultural moments. He thrives in the spotlight of spectacle. Prince
thrives in the shadow of autonomy. The system tries once more to orchestrate a collision. A magazine proposes a joint cover. 2 kings, 1 frame. Negotiations reportedly stall over creative control, photographers, lighting, positioning. Who stands center? Who leans? The cover never materializes. Instead, Prince channels his energy into building Paisley Park as more than a studio, an ecosystem. He signs protégés, produces entire albums under different names, disperses his genius across a constellation of projects. It's not a counterpunch to Michael, it's a redefinition of the ring. By the time Sign of the Times arrives, sprawling and audacious, the competition narrative feels smaller than the music itself. Critics call it ambitious, risky, unfiltered. It doesn't chase thriller numbers, it doesn't try to. That was never the point. At another award show years later, when both men are again in attendance, the camera repeats its ritual sweep. Michael's choreography has become legend. Prince's guitar solos have become mythic. The audience roars for each in turn. They nod, they clap, they remain sovereign. The thesis crystallizes in hindsight. Prince refused to compete not because he couldn't, but because he understood that competition is a cage built by institutions that profit from rivalry. By declining the microphone, by sidestepping the shared frame, by speaking about ownership instead of opponents, he altered the metric of success. He made autonomy the trophy. In the weeks after that Shrine Auditorium moment, industry chatter cools. Executives recalibrate expectations. Instead of asking when they'll face off, they begin asking how Prince keeps slipping out of comparison entirely. And that is the quiet revolution. Michael continues ascending in spectacle, redefining the global pop machine. Prince continues excavating deeper layers of artistry, redefining what control can look like for a black artist in a corporate industry. 2 geniuses, parallel arcs, but only one refused to play the game as designed. Years later, interviews will revisit the rivalry myth. Stories will surface, some confirmed, some embellished, about declined collaborations, about playful jabs, about mutual respect layered with distance. Yet the clearest statement was never spoken in a diss track or a press conference. It was spoken in restraint. On that awards stage, with a microphone lowered an inch and a speech directed towards freedom, Prince moved a piece on the board that no one saw coming. Not an attack, not a retreat, a repositioning. Because in chess, the most devastating move is often the one that changes the rules of engagement entirely. And in an industry obsessed with who wins, Prince decided to own the board.